Jam with Sam. Jam with Sam.
Good evening, Alfred.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to have you here for the 78th episode of Jam with Sam.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for
Thank you so much.
having me over.
So I know Alfred for, I think, about a month. We met about a month back, and we instantly.
I'm bad at dates,
You're
but
right.
I think it's we've been in touch, and
Yeah.
I've heard you speak about social media, so you have to thank that we've been in
Absolutely.
close touch
Absolutely.
and kind of get a feeling that we know each other for a
Longer time. Absolutely. So tell us about growing up in Mumbai, your school. You studied at St. Anthony de Silva, both SSC and HSC, and next was Saviours as a Marine officer. So tell us about your growing up.
It's a long story. I'll try to make it short. I have been fortunate to travel the world, and I've seen some, read James Hadley Chase books and a lot of
James Hadley,
novels.
wow,
Yeah,
okay.
a lot of novels. And there would always be these dirty alleys and dark alleys. And I would always make it a point, whether it was Genoa in Italy or whether it was New York in the Bronx, make sure that you go there, like Shantaram's story.
Okay.
And the local people and friends would always say, watch out, watch out, watch out. And I would say, मन में बोलता था, दादर का लड़का है, क्या होगा? So I owe a lot to Dadar in that sense. I was born and brought up in Dadar, moved out of Dadar to Bandra in 1970. And I owe a lot to the school. In academics and general sense, we were the last batch where the Jesuits were. So I think we were very fortunate.
Okay.
We were among the, I would like to define the school with the highest of compliment. I've just given up being the president for last 2 years of the alumni. That it was a school for ruffians, I can say. Because all dropouts went there, and I was fortunate very early in my life. I had drug addicts as my classmates, but they were all great sportsmen. They represented India, some of them in hockey and football and what have you. But very early in my life, I was exposed to all that kind of stuff, besides the fights and knuckle dusters and all that. So I owe a lot to the school, and how to be street smart.
Exactly.
Until recently, recently when I say means I'm not getting young anymore, it's about 35, 40 years back. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who was in the rat race, so-called rat race. I'm just become a grandfather, so I know what that rat race is. They're already looking for nurseries for my grandchild, who's only 14 months old, and he was beg, borrowing and steal to put his child in one of those elite schools. And I said, Q, you know what, he's not going to learn anything great, and all the wrong stuff I was saying. And I got a lesson of my life when I heard from him. And I'm of course paraphrased it and improved it like I do in everything else in my life, learn from somebody and make it better. So from then I realized that to make it into a story, if you met a friend from school, say after 40, 50 years, you may not know what this guy has been in these 40 years. He could be a terrorist, he could be, one of those gangsters, but yet next moment you will not hesitate to vouch for him. अरे यार मेरा दोस्त है यार, उसको कुछ काम दे दे, उसको ये दे दे, उसको वो दे दे. And I began to wonder why we do that. Because that bond that you create in school is a very, very, very strong bond. Now look at it this way, that if you go to, you were talking about being brought up in Mahim in a chawl. Look at when you go to a lower middle class poor school, who are your peers? Your peers are people who come from this economically backward, humble beginnings. Nothing wrong with that. But in the corporate world, we are now talking about entrepreneurs today. Why are we in a networking show? Because all you require is connections. Now, despite all this bond that I just spoke to you about, what is the best that your friend can do? His own position. And if his position is not that can take you or give you a leapfrog movement, you're better off in a Doon school.
Yeah.
So therefore, beg, borrow, steal, whatever you want, but send the child to a good school where the peers are something in society. I'm not saying that you cannot then instill the good values and the principles that you want to do. Don't abdicate your powers, your responsibility as a parent. So sorry, I took this opportunity to lecture on this, but that was my school, and I owe a lot to the school.
Fantastic.
And then what did you ask me? What was
You
the
were
school?
St. Xavier's.
So I was the youngest student ever to lecture in the college.
Wow.
And so that was an amazing, we had an amazing principal who called me once to the class and said, you know, I'm going to ask you something and don't say no. At that time I was not wise, you know, you are all awe of the principal asking you something. I said, of course, yes, you know, whatever it is you tell me, because I thought he has caught me doing something wrong or whatever. I was very mischievous in school and college. He says, I want you to teach in the college. I said, wow, teach, but do you think I can teach? He said, trust me, you will never regret this in your life. And that was the best moment of my life. And I still have my students all over the world. When I meet them, you know, they even touch my feet, and the feeling is really very good. So that was Xavier's for me. And ever since then, I didn't stop teaching.
Okay.
And then there was a time I realized that teaching is not going to take me anywhere. So I made a pratigya that I will teach for charity. So I've been teaching for charity ever since I retired at 40. I'm 63 years old now. So, but I do lecture now in the management schools, IIMs, ISBs, and
We'll come to
world
that.
forums.
So tell us about your journey when you completed your engineering to when you started your first company. That's not there in LinkedIn.
Yeah, I always say that I got into business by accident. I am a product of Hindi films, you know, of the 60s and the 50s, and you did mention something about that. It resonated with me. You spoke about the lawyers community, how it is portrayed. He asked you that question. In our time, Hindi films of that age, you guys are all young, it always portrayed the businessman as somebody who is evil. You know, somebody who robbed, somebody who was, what do they say, a corrupt person, and who exploited people. And combined then, I was born in a Christian family and a Christian upbringing, so it's a fatal combination. So business to dur ki baat tha, kabhi bhi nahi hota tha, it would never happen, okay? And then I got into business by accident, that mera complete maqsad only was that whatever I do, I will be, you know, the top in whatever I do and get a good job, a good fat paycheck. So at that time, electronics was the sunrise industry. So I said that I will get into electronics and get a head start in India. So I will be on the top of the world. So the microprocessor, as you know, all you youngsters take it for granted, was invented only in 73.
Yes.
And I joined the course in 76.
Wow.
And so I had a head start, and I had then, I can very humbly tell you, dreams of what is today called the PC revolution. But I had no money in my pocket. So I got into business by accident, in the sense that I was to get my degree by going into campus in University of California at Berkeley. And I got a telegram from home saying, or not a telegram, some message, I don't even remember, that my mama is dying. And I said, मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ा धर्म संकट हो गया था. I said, I have to be by her bedside. So I left everything. I had college admissions. I had everything done. But I came next to her. Then you call it love, or you call it determination. I did experience the medical fraternity at the worst at that point of time. And she was in what was National Hospital then. Today it's Hinduja. And she lived for 2 years. So during that period, I couldn't say, Mommy, kab mar raha hai? Mere ko jana hai. So I got into doing things what today we call entrepreneurship and what have you, and I was fascinated by efficiency because of microprocessor. So anything that I saw, and even till today, that's bugging me. You know, if I was to talk to you guys, I would tell you, ye angle better hota tha, ye aisa karo, waisa karo, because the mind is all the time thinking of efficiency. So I would give free advice to everybody. In India, everybody is good at taking free advice. So before long, I realized, इससे पैसा नहीं बन रहा है, इससे पैसा भी तो बना सकता है. I can monetize it. So ironically, the first big assignment I got was to shut down a catering company. That was my first assignment. That shut down the catering company with minimum of losses. Now I can talk the whole evening about it, but it ended up I owning the company, starting a catering company, and which became for a long time my biggest enterprise. It is still also my enterprise. And I swear now in all management institutes, I tell them that if you can run a catering company, you can run any business in the world. Someday over drinks, you can ask me why. Others who disagree with me, I say, if you can run a catering company, you can run any company in the world.
Okay.
Now, I get bored very easily. I get tired doing the same thing very easily. And from the very beginning, on my 21st birthday, which was my real job, I had decided, I don't know, some book I had read and it had inspired me that I'll retire at 40. So I had from day one therefore decided that what I would do after 40. So one of the good things that happened, in retrospect I can give it a big mantra and tell you all stories, but you know, a lot of the things happen to you subconsciously, and it is these books that you read. And so I decided, so from day one, even today, if you tell me to delegate anything that I can delegate, including do this talk for me, maybe a robo tomorrow, you know, a personalized robo, I would do it. Because I say your time is the most precious resource that you have. And if you can keep it all to yourself, and if you can delegate to somebody, do it.
Do it.
So I'm not a perfectionist to that extent. It will never happen the way you want, but I always get my work done. So with the result, therefore, I ended up doing so many things, and I guess your next question will be, how did I get?
So before we get into serious stuff, we have some fun time. If you had to have dinner with anyone from history, who would it be?
Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay. So name a product you love so much that you will be happy to be that company's spokesperson.
This may sound brash, but most of the companies whom I admire, I already represent them.
Wow.
And they are some of the largest in the world, including India's largest. But if I have to choose, my business style and my ethics and my principles and values have always been based on two companies, one of which all of you would have heard of. The early days they were called Bell Laboratories. Today they are Lucent. So I've been always inspired by them. Never ended up representing though. And there was another company called Unitor. So it's the world's largest logistics company, marine logistics company based out of Norway, and I ended up representing them as well. So I have modeled my businesses on these two companies.
Okay. As a child, what did you wish for to become when you grew up?
I always wanted to represent my country, and realized very soon that the only way I could represent my country was either to have a godfather or to be a politician or be a very huge industrialist. So then I made up in my mind that I will excel in business, and fortunately I've been able to do all of that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how strict were your parents?
I think they were not strict at all.
Not
They
at
were
all.
very loving.
So 1.
Yeah,
Would you rather live for a week in the past or the future?
definitely in the future.
Future. When you're having a bad day, what do you do to make yourself feel good?
Even if you look at my phone today, I have a list of all the obstacles and struggles that I went through in my life. So whenever I have a bad day, I go back to, into my life and see all the days that I went through trouble. And then the present trouble seems nothing. You know?
Very good. Okay, so where do I start? Most of us have got experience in such large companies, but you have founded and managed such huge diversified business groups from shipping, clearing and forwarding, real estate development, investment banking, innovation management, homeland security consulting. So you spoke to us about your national shipping company. So you deal with one of India's largest
Yeah, I represent
brands.
Reliance Industries Limited since 1989. We are their exclusive shipping agent. The entire liquid bulk cargo for them is cleared by
Okay,
us.
what comes to Jamnagar and
Yeah, so it makes us the largest clearing forwarding agent in the liquid bulk area.
wow.
Now, Jamnagar, they import crude oil. So
Yes.
technically, I don't do that. I do the
Okay.
products and the responses. And we represent every other public sector oil company: BPCL, HPCL, IOC, Petronet, GAIL, ONGC, all of
So
them.
all the gas, the
Yeah,
liquid,
all the liquid bulk cargo. And recently, we are one of the preferred agents for DHL. So again, that will make us very large. So we're doing a lot of work for Amazon.
Okay.
They are clearing and forwarding agent.
Okay. So Arambhan Hospitality Services, you have a unique niche in which you supply to offshore sector. Which are your top 5 clients?
ONGC is the MABAP client. Okay. In the oil and gas hydrocarbon sector, but we are the largest in this industry. So therefore, we deal with every other client, right from Larsen and Toubro, SR, Punj Lloyd, Great Offshore, Great Ship, and all the international oil companies you can think of, from BP to Shell to Maersk to, if these names mean anything to you. Yeah,
You've heard all of them.
all of them.
So
And
this
we
is
operate right from Vietnam down Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka, East West Coast, right in the Middle East, Africa, and the Persian Gulf.
so this is the same company which had to shut down, which has become so huge.
I started with that. Yeah.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
turnaround. Okay. So Mysore Reality Private Limited. So you're doing this project in Mysore with a foreign direct investment. What is this project about?
We are doing a 150-acre township, and what is important, since this is going to be an entrepreneurial stuff, is it's, to make a long story short, I went around to get funding for this project. It started with something else, and I wanted to raise $100 million for the real estate fund during 2007, 2008, and everybody kept telling me one way or the other, until if you meet the Israelis, they're very direct people, they don't mince their words. So one guy who was the oldest and the most well-known multinational real estate development company, he looks at me and says, you know, you coming to ask me $100 million, or you want to raise $100 million, but have you ever built even a brick wall in your life? The rest is history. I'm doing 150-acre township, and he is my lead investor.
Fantastic.
And we just completing the project. We've started selling, and I will still raise that $100 million fund.
So this is going to be a smart city or something, or it's just a township?
It started off with, and it still is, even a very diluted manner, but it still is one of the best known class, international class integrated township in Mysore. If you go to our site Vedapuram on Google, and you will see that it is the only integrated township which has got, which is nothing big actually, but it has got our underground laid out. 10 years back we laid out fiber optics and everything out there. So whereas all the other townships have overhead wires and telephones and everything coming out from there. Initial plan was also to give world-class villas and world-class internal roads, but the market is not ready for that.
Okay. So ANG Advisors, which is into investment banking. So do you only fund or you also consult, and who are your customers?
Again, here I will not take the opportunity to talk the entrepreneurial talk. Let me dramatize it for you.
Okay.
Okay, I was meeting somebody who was the CEO of one of the number one, they were declared number one transactions in, if anybody knows, if you're familiar with investment banking, in Europe they were rated number one in transactions, above Macquarie, above Deutsche Bank, above all of the others. And the CEO was talking with me, or met me, and the next thing he calls me late night and he tells me, Alfred, I'm dramatizing this, okay? He says, Alfred, don't say no to me. Again, the second time in my life I heard somebody telling me this, don't say no to me. So I say, what? He says, I'm giving you a first class ticket to Tel Aviv, up and down. Can you come as soon as you can? So I thought to myself in seconds, there's a first class ticket there, I forgot me Tel Aviv leke ja raha hai, kyun nahi jayega? So I said, yes, when? Okay. And next thing I landed there. I landed in the morning, I remember 8 o'clock, went to their office, and he took me around to the entire floor where they had some brilliant financial analysts, introduced all of them, and we were chatting in the cafeteria. The whole morning finished that way. Took me out for lunch in the most exclusive place there. Gave me a very expensive lunch, and all along I was wondering what's coming. Okay? So after lunch he takes me out, brings me to the office. This is like in Suits, okay? It's like it happens in movies. And he takes me to outside his chairman's office. Imagine, na? Outside his chairman's office, and the name of the company was SFK, Shrem, Fudim and Kelna. And he says, you are going to meet Shrem, the chairman. Don't underestimate him. I thought to myself, I never underestimate anybody. He says, he's very, very sharp. He's going to give you only 2 minutes. So I thought to myself, मैं थोड़ी मांगा तेरे को मेरे को इसके पास लेके आने के लिए, तो क्या करने का? I had nothing to lose. Okay, most of the time my demeanor is like this. What do I have got to lose? He says, but listen, I'm telling you something. Don't let me down. Again, यार फुकट में लेके अभी now what is he asking? He says, you know what? For the last 5 years we've been negotiating with a potential partner in India who's one of the oldest and largest, I don't want to name, law firms. And they also have a accounting practice.
Ah,
You can guess who they are.
okay.
And I have decided we're going to drop them and we'll go with you.
Wow.
So I bola, what do I know about investment banking? So he says, everything there needs to know about investment banking, we know. You just bring your integrity to it. I felt 10 feet tall. Now the 2 minutes that the chairman was supposed to give me, we had in the afternoon we had champagne and we spoke for 45 minutes in his cabin, and the rest is history. So we started an investment banking there. We did many transactions for Aditya Birla Group. We represent them. Recently we raised $50 million for ICICI Ventures. We did a $1 billion transaction for Shrey Finance for the Colombo Rail. We did Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. Lot of Israeli names that I'll tell you, you may not know, but they're all in the high-tech area, in the communication sector that they have come. From India, Aditya Birla Group, the entire group, we represent them in Israel, and we do a lot of their mergers and acquisitions and the transactions for them.
Oh. SIT, your collaboration with SIT Israel. So this is an innovation consulting company. So what do they consult in? What sort of innovation?
You're tempting me to tell you again a story.
Yes.
Is that okay with
Stories
is,
sell,
is that
facts
okay with
tell.
everybody?
Everybody remembers stories. Remember that one thing.
One of the things when I had decided, I told you when I'll retire at 40, I said I would teach for charity. So I had to choose a niche area that I would teach. To make a long story short, I think I've read every single book of Edward de Bono, if you've heard of him. Ironically, I went through a bypass in 2004, and I knew that Edward de Bono was taking up students for training. And after a very rigorous selection process, he decided to take me on. Wow. And I had to fly to Malta, and he would train me as a master trainer. And then when he heard that I had just gone through a bypass, he called me up and he told me that, Alfred, I don't think it's a wise thing to do, to invest so much of money to come all the way to Malta. That's where he's headquartered, because you require a lot of energy to go undergo this training. Think about it some other time. I don't think you should come now. So I was certainly very disappointed. Then I came across this company which is in 90 countries of the world, and the only thing they do is innovation. Every single ad agency of the world, we do work with them. So and they were hell-bent on not coming to India. So there's many stories in my life when people say India mein nahi aayega, I make sure I work with them. Okay. So I met the founder guy, and again everybody said it's useless meeting this chap. His name is Amnon. He lectures in Harvard and MIT and Stanford and whatever. I met him, and over lunch, and one thing led to another, and I am the chairman of the Indian company. I am a 50% older. So we do for the entire 108 Tata Group companies innovation, the entire Marico, entire Godrej, entire Aditya Birla, entire Reliance Capital, Siemens. So what we do is what nobody else does exclusively. We teach you to innovate on demand. If everybody is willing to pay me 5,000 rupees now, I'm going to teach you I can teach you how to innovate on demand. One tool. You can take home with that one tool. But 5,000 rupees per person. I have not even counted how many are here.
Done. We have a credit card machine also. So ANG Partners, which is working with Israel across the board in agri, telecom, alternate energy. So you're becoming like half Israel, I think. You've got so many companies with Israeli tie-ups.
You know what? Everybody hears, and they don't mind hearing it from me as well, that people say it's very difficult to work with the Jews. One is that they use the word in the negative sense that you can never make money with them. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's always great to deal with smart people than to deal with fools. So मैं बोलता अगर ये समझता है smart है तो मैं उनसे smart हो जाऊँगा. So I've been dealing with them for the last 20 years. So they tell me that पिछले जन्म में तो जू जरूर हुआ रहेगा.
Okay. So what does ANG Partners do?
So we do everything that Israel is famous for, if you know about it, right from agriculture to high technology to education to water to in the medical field, everything. So in let me give you some touch points what we have done in India. We were the first to grow olives in the Rajasthan deserts in 5,000 acres of land.
Whoa.
So in agriculture we're doing a whole lot of things. I told you we are training 108 people, 108 Tata Group companies and Tata Management Training Center. I told you about innovation. I told you about investment banking, what we are doing. We were the first in many things to do, including Homeland Security, Bombay Stock Exchange, the Taj and the Oberoi Group, and lot of the projects with the police and the defense forces I can't talk to you about. But we are very active in, including Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. We are in the medical field, as you know, right from the medical stand to so many things we've been doing, and what a huge amount of work. In fintech, Axis Bank is using the only one real-time risk management software is from us. From you. Now HDFC and ICICI Bank is also going to use, and in fintech we got huge amount of stuff that we're doing in smart cities, so name it, and we are doing it in that sense.
And finally, he is a trustee with Indian Documentary Foundation since February 2014. Could you share something about that?
Indian Documentary Foundation is the company most famously known for having brought BritDoc to India. BritDoc owns the product like TED called Good Pitch.
Okay.
If you know of TED, in fact, coincidentally, we brought TED to India for the first time.
Wow.
And we had done the innovation project, which was rated the best workshop ever in TED anywhere in the world. And even the goodie bag that TED is famous for, we had done it for them in the Mysore campus of Infosys. So in Good Pitch is exactly like TED, where all the big famous Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation, you have the Sundance films and Chicken and Egg, whoever is in the media, you would know them. Okay, so these guys bring all of them to the fore, and globally you call for people who want funding, whether it is filmmaker, whether it's a script, whatever it is, and we do that for them.
Fantastic. Okay. Controversy. Red tape in governments. How does your company manage? There's a hard way and the easy way.
I actually would like to answer it differently, that I am of a vintage where I was successful during the closed economy, and I think I'm reasonably successful now in the open market scenario, so I must be doing something right.
Okay, that we'll discuss over drinks. So demonetization and GST, how has it affected the Indian economy?
It is such a Gisa-Pita topic. Everybody is speaking about it. Everybody knows how it was. I don't think we should waste the time of these guys hearing my opinion about it. And everybody has an opinion.
One small opinion.
It would sound a rhetoric. GST was a good idea, badly implemented. And as far as demonetization is concerned, it was pure selfish reasons, stupidity, ego-driven thing. And I think for that, he should be tried like the Nuremberg trial. 7 deaths or 100 deaths that happened, how can you allow somebody to go get away with that?
Okay. Is compliance killing the entrepreneur?
100%. I am not saying that an entrepreneur should break rules, but what I am saying is it's like the Chapter 11 or the IBC code that is come now. You give him a chance. Yeah, you give him a chance that he has done a traffic violation or whatever it is, and there's a term in accounting that they call compounding. That you should give him an avenue to opportunity to come clean. Because most often, if he is going to do governance, who's going to do the vision? And you really do not have very reliable, affordable professionals who will guide you. You're mostly dependent on them, and one mistake from them, and then you're screwed.
Okay, quick gun, Sam. One witty answer and why? Marlon Brando or Sean Connery?
Marlon Brando.
Why?
He is a drama. He plays drama, whereas Sean Connery is doing fiction. And you look any one of the old movies, and you'll think you're watching a Mithun Chakrabarti movie.
Okay, manufacturing or trading?
Manufacturing.
Manufacturing. You think India still got manufacturing?
Of course. Of course.
Acquire or create?
Create.
Create? No acquiring.
Acquiring is easy because for acquisition, all you need, I don't mean to demean anybody, all you need is capital, all you need timing, all you need is a good managerial capability, and that is the inorganic growth that we talk about. But to create is far more difficult.
Difficult.
Yeah.
Social media, which platform you're comfortable with and how do you use the same?
I don't consider myself a cyber zombie, for sure. Okay, and for somebody who has been always ahead and always was working with technology, I think social media is not essential at all. It has a whole lot of crap that takes up your time, and you don't end up you end up becoming a zombie, and most often you lose very good valuable time. So the only thing that I am proud of having been associated was when LinkedIn started. I was among the first that was there, and even now the first message that I send out to anybody who writes to me is, please talk to me privately and not on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So only to efficiently use your time.
Absolutely. Charity. You were the charter president of Kiwanis Club of Mumbai first and immediate past president of Antonio Alumni. So tell us something about
Antonio Alumni, I told you that what I think of my school. We are about to celebrate 150 years of the school. Kiwanis is a very interesting development. I brought Kiwanis to India. We are in 97 countries of the world, but still people don't know about Kiwanis as much in India. We are like the Rotary and the Lions. The only difference is that we work only with children. But what we are famous world over for, the Say No to Drugs, was our program. The Special Olympics all over the world, we are the sponsors to them. And the entire IDD program, it's a very interesting story to it. The Iodine Deficiency Disorder program, it was started, and the whole idea to spike salt, iodized salt, was started by us, by our children. And then we raised the first $57 million and United Nations, I was fortunate to be at that time in Paris to get the award even, declared that as the single most successful program to ever impact mankind, because that simple idea of iodizing salt is saving millions of children world over today.
So that was the Global Impact Award which you had won.
No, I got the recognition for completely something different by Kofi Annan.
Kofi Annan?
Yeah, I had lunch with him at that time. I was the first Indian company to ever be featured in the United Nations official website. And then, I started a program where all the Tatas and the ONGCs and SAIL and everybody else came in, where I was responsible to open the river route between India and Bangladesh after 35 years.
Wow.
So I got recognized for that.
Wow. We have a living legend over here, no? Hobbies and families. Tell us about your family.
I describe my family as a divided family. My wife likes to work with destitute women. My children, because they didn't have grandparents, so they like to work with the elderly, and I have chosen to work with children. So that in short is my family. I have two daughters, Aarti and Pooja. Aarti has given me my first grandchild, Inaya, who's 14 months old. So I'm the minority in the house.
Okay.
It's all ladies.
All ladies. Okay. Hobbies?
I love watching films, so I have to watch at least one film a day.
Every day?
Yeah, one minimum.
Any particular genre?
Right now I end up looking a lot of documentaries because of IDF, but I watch very selective movies. So nowadays I watch history, I watch biographies, I watch true life drama, and none more of those thrillers and all those kind of stuff. But I have to watch at least one movie a day, minimum one.
So the question which everyone would like to ask you is, how do you manage all these companies?
I think if your funda is clean and clear, where you want to go, how you want to do, and see, it may sound very cliched now, and that's the way consultants work, that's the way books are written, that's the way principles are made, is that when you watch a pattern of what you're doing. Now very often when I am reading books now, I say, "Arey, ye to book mein likha hai. I was doing that always all my life." Somebody has observed that and made it happen. So one is that I am a very lazy person. So as I told you, I'll always find somebody to do the job for me. So I have always fortunately been able to empower. I can give you amazing stories of I picked up people from the street on the road, and you know, my jadu wala became my rice maker and then became a unit manager in my catering office. So empower people, teach them. When you empower people, trust me, it's amazingly they can give you results in that time. So I have ordinary people doing extraordinary work. So I have my company where I have maximum number of brothers, sisters, husband, wife, father, children, grandfather, children, and lot of them got married while they were being in my office.
Okay.
So it's always, I feel, the greatest respect you can give to your company is by bringing your own into the company. So we were the first to do what is known as Flexi Hours, where, you know, when it is now become a big thing, we were 24/7. Just to give an example how we were 24/7. Among my first offices was in next to Dalal Street. There is a office called Ambalal Doshi Marg, just next door. And I was in a what is today called a business center. So somebody gave me a table space. So in that table space, he was diligently at 5 o'clock sharp, he would close the office. Okay. So then what could I do? So my next office after 5 o'clock was a military restaurant, which is an Irani restaurant.
Okay.
That was my office. Then suddenly what happened, Saturday, Sundays, I didn't even, Saturday, Sunday for telephone, I had nowhere to go. Now, you guys will perhaps not understand how telephone was a difficult thing those days, landline. So we used to go to the opposite to the road, there was a chai wala. So we used to use his phone. So he says, साहब Saturday, Sunday तो दलाल स्ट्रीट में कोई नहीं आता, खाली आपके लिए मेरे को आना पड़ता है टेलीफोन के लिए. So we innovated then. What we did, we bought a cordless phone. And we put the cordless phone, and my boy would sit out with the cordless phone and with the shop closed. Now why did I tell you this story? Because you asked me, how do you manage? So these ideas came from my people. So when you tell them get the job done, and if I've been successful doing that, as much as I think back, I think it's because of two reasons, two qualities that I have. I've been able to search myself, because which says that I can be a team leader, and I can also be a team player at the same time.
Which is quite difficult.
So I will not hesitate to be part of a team, and you know, when you are having a discussion, "Arey yaar, koi problem hai," and I am talking about major problems that we have done, including Dhirubhai Ambani's 5,000 people's first AGM in Surat, how we did the catering for him, and how we ran out of water. What did my people do? How did they manage? So it was all innovation, right? So in situations like this, I would always sit down and say, the problem abhi kya karne ka hai? And before long in that meeting, you will find a leader emerging. Okay, and when the leader emerges, acha, tu karna, ha? Acha, now what do you want me to do? I would straight away become his subordinate. What do you want me to do? And that works. And that has worked, fortunately, till now.
What is one thing you would like to give the audience across your wisdom, which you have what is one thing you would like to tell an entrepreneur to always stand by?
My tagline, if you will notice, is what my company is ethically forward.
Yes.
So never give up on honesty, never give up on your integrity, never give up on your values. You will have difficult times, you will have trying times. Never give up on that. Never take shortcuts.
Fantastic. Alfred, thank you so much. I think it's been one of our best sessions so far.
You've been kind.